I'm a bit disappointed as a young guy. We have really good software in modeling, and on the construction side, how they work, that is not really working. So this connection, so that is what can be better in the future. Definitely that step, bringing the models and the construction together. So on the other hand, we have guidelines, we have requirements which we have to fulfill. And on the other side, we have the technology, which is always growing or getting better. So, and that's not working.
Welcome to the Smarter Twins podcast. Today, I'm pleased to welcome with me Maximilian Weiß as our guest. As part of the Deutsche Bahn, the German railways, Max is leading the BIM GAS team for the mega project, the second route of Munich. The career of Max involved working on several construction projects on different scales, including roads, bridges, and even train stations. Max, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jimmy. It's nice to have a chat with you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for joining. So from your background, I see a lot of interesting things related to changing the status quo, changing or challenging the current status quo in the market, and testing different possibilities with solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey across the different positions you have held?
Yes, first of all, I'm born in Munich, and for understanding why my motivation for my job is so high, I think everybody should know that. I was raised in Munich, close to Munich. I finished school there. I started studying, so I was using quite a lot the public transport. And so I did my first degree in geology at the TUM, and then I went further for my master degree in Austria. And yeah, I always wanted to come back to Munich. So yeah, there's always be some passion for Munich. And yeah, with finishing my master degree, I ended up in a construction company. And yeah, for me, that was a game changer because I was able to do my thesis in a construction company. Then they offered me my first job. And yeah, I was all excited about getting out there and see how construction work. And yeah, they were putting me in a department where they were working as a first responder for critical foundation work. So the first 3 years of my after university career was that I was in a department for really critical interaction between ground, soil, and the new constructed building. So every week I saw a different problem in the construction work. And after a while, you feel pretty safe how to handle some things. And due to that, my focus changed always to the digitalization, more to the digital part, and how can you change the workflow to a better way.
With the critical situations, you definitely can leverage the value of software to better handle different cases. And so this is where I believe it can be handful in such kind of situations.
For sure. Most of the time it's that you don't understand the problem at the first sight. So when we talk about BIM or something like that, it's just the first component that you have the better possibility to get all people of understanding the problem in the same way. So yeah, that's was my first contact with BIM, when I'm honest.
At what time was that? Because first contact of BIM...
I think in 2016, I would say, or 2015, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a bit away.
Yeah, very good. So maybe if I may ask you, Max, so currently you're leading the team for BIM and GAS of the mega project. So this sounds like a big scale. Can you tell us more about the project? What's the size of it, the impact of it? As you just said, during your childhood, this transportation in Munich was like something you encountered day-to-day basis. And this is the life in Munich. We see that in Munich, transportation is very essential for everyone. So if you can tell us more about the project, the impact on everyone's life, especially when we talk about public transport, those kind of projects have a lot of dependencies. They have a lot of factors we need to take into account.
Yes, the fact why Munich has a S-Bahn goes back to 1972 when Munich got the first Olympic Games. Well, the Olympic Games, not the first. So only one time. So for that event, Munich got a public transport. So that's 15 years before I was born, and their passenger numbers from there are still working in some stations right now. So Munich is growing and growing. So the passenger numbers are increasing, but the infrastructure is not really up to date. So that's why the new second core route, my project, is built. And the upgrade of the S-Bahn system will reduce the pressure to the existing core road. And we're building a 7-kilometer long tunnel, which has 3 new subway stations in the middle of the historical center. So it's quite tough to build in a existing city and not on the green field. And that's, you ask what's a challenge there for this project. And building in the inner city center, that's one of the major problems. And the second thing is that the current lines must run all the way we are constructing the new line. So the Munich Central Station is one of the biggest train stations in Europe. And while we are operating this station, we are constructing below, on the side, our new station. And that's a major issue. And the other thing is that we are going deeper and deeper, because Munich has different layers of subway and S-Bahn or trains, and there's no place for us. So we have to go as deep as possible, and that's 40 meters below ground. And nobody in Munich has constructed yet a new train station in that depth.
Very interesting. So definitely the main challenge is how can you bring the project with the expected timeline, with the expected budget, and deliver the quality required while keeping all the life in the city going as expected. So not affecting people's day-to-day work. So every time I take the subway, come to work, I count the minutes when the train is a little bit delayed or when I'm stuck a little bit inside. No one likes that kind of situations, but so no one can imagine the other things going around. That's very interesting. And now if we think about the Deutsche Bahn in general, for such kind of projects, which are really mega project, you need to handle different kind of requirements, different kind of possibilities. And as you're passionate about exploring technologies, trying different things, I can imagine such kind of a project is completely done digitally. So you're using digital software solutions and everything is digitized in the process. Maybe you can elaborate on the process, like from the beginning. So how can you work on such kind of big project, bringing all requirements, all regulations, and then from there we move forward into the proper design that fulfill the requirements and so on?
It's a good point, Jimmy. Not everything is digitized. And in Germany, our guidelines are having 2 sides of the medal, when I'm honest. On the one side, you have everything really sharp and organized, and everybody should know what to do. But on the other side, it's a bit over-regulated and you don't have enough freedom or not the speed to fulfill all the requirements. So we start with the requirements, we start with a lot of paperwork, we start with financing, and when everything is set up, we start with a design idea and the evaluation which route should be planned. And that's the main part when the design stage where we start using BIM as a basis.
But you start BIM early on, designing the path or designing how the direction will be. So you talk maybe at this, still we are at the schematic design, talking maybe from high level, where this route will pass through. Is it like that? Mm-hmm.
Where the route passes through was already decided when I came to the project. So for that, normally is a whole year doing some research, which route is the best. For sure, they were using some software tools, but in the end, it will be a PDF, some text where the decision is on. And for future design evaluations, it would be nice just to use parametric systems for getting the best solution. That's on the big scale, because we are having the big from one point in Munich to the other point, and we are just calculating which way would be the best. But that's a different scale. But now we are right now in the planning phase and changing to the construction phase. And in some parts, we are already in the construction, especially for all concrete work. We started already. So we are planning integral. So some stuff is still in the planning phase and some already in the construction. So that's quite challenging for us. And that's why we need digital models of all our construction work. First of all, to get everybody on the same information level. Have a visual point of view. It's the best thing you can have, because we have 300 people working for Deutsche Bahn, and we have 300 people on the other side as a planner. So all these people getting connected is the major task, because only the people are working and everybody needs the same stand. Or
have the same state of information,
yes.
Understand also the same goal, how we are trying to implement it, and also the focus, where we are in the process at the moment. You mentioned that we need digital models, but I can imagine for new facilities, new stations, new routes, you probably have some tunnel models and different kind of digital models already. But for existing or old facilities, you probably didn't have such kind of models from before. So I wonder, do you capture them via point clouds to reality captures? Or I don't know, if you can tell us, like you said, you need those kind of information to execute and deliver your project. So how would you digitize such kind of existing assets?
We have different approach. It depends on how detailed we need it, actually. Because on the one thing, we just take the 2D drawings and put it together with our 3D models. Just 2D and 3D combined. Works for some things, especially, for example, telephone cables and stuff like that, because nobody was really looking how the depth of the cable was on this drawing. So it makes no sense to model this further. So, but on the other side, we have, for example, some gas pipes. And for that, it makes sense just to have the right depth there. And on the other side, we're just using LiDAR scanners, producing point clouds, and getting exact models of our current train station, for example, the Munich Central Station, all the old roofs there. The people doing laser scans, and we digitize that and try to implement that and verify our plannings with the point clouds.
Yeah, very interesting. So you already combine the different sources and the different data formats to get the value of what you want. I'm leading to this because this is more or less the core of digital twinning, and I believe you already capturing different sides of it through the process. And that's very valuable. All right. And then we have now digital models, which then help to make the better detailed design of the project. And then you start going into the construction side. Before going to construction side, when we look into the decisions you make about, for example, pedestrian movements, about areas, and when we look at a specific train station, design can influence how people navigate around, safety aspects, and many things. You've mentioned requirements that you have, but I imagine each one of those requirements is to support a specific use case or make people safer based on some things. So do you do some simulations, or what kind of simulations are you applying on the models to make decisions during design? Or checks, at least.
Yeah, so in the beginning, we have this idea or the number of passengers a train station should fit, or the number of passengers who can be operated in this train station. And further on this number, we start simulations first of all, how the passenger flow is working in a normal operation mode. And afterwards, we are doing the simulations for the fire safety engineering. So, and after that, we look in the different construction phases as well, because for the different construction phases, you need different evacuation scenarios and fire safety scenarios. And everything is for all eventualities in the passengers' flows. We try to run simulations, and we started in our project with the approach using the BIM models as the basis for simulation.
Yeah, so you use the current design to evaluate the different possibilities. Like in case of fire, what will be the behavior of the people with, or occupants within the stations? Also, just for normal circulation. So from the circulation, what would be the best way to put the different staircases, make people navigate easily within the station?
Yeah, the design decision is executed with simulations as well. And therefore, it's a quite complicated process, because you only get financing from the government when you fulfill the requirements, and the requirements is a number of passengers. So in our planning process, sometimes these requirements change as well. So, and that's furthermore a big plus point when you do it on a BIM model or in a model which you can scale or parameter using a parametric model just for your planning process. Because on the other hand, you're building so long, you're building nearly 5 to 10 to 15 years in a mega project. For sure, the requirements for the passengers will change. One in safety, on the other hand, in the just the amount of people. And in our case, it was the amount of people who changed, or which changed as a number. And so we have to come up with different solutions. And therefore, simulations were a great tool to show again people who give us the money and how everything works. So it's getting information to people who don't have that project
They need
knowledge.
the proof of the quality of the design. Parametric modeling is very valuable, and if I understand correctly, you also apply it on the different stations you have and the different projects. And this can be also very interesting in terms of AI, to be honest. I'm not sure if there is anything like this happening at the Deutsche Bahn, or maybe I believe you're doing a lot of research projects as well. So I'm not sure if such kind of topic is one of the topics that's investigated.
We have to divide it here. So one is using parametric modeling for our planning, and therefore we are doing it in our project as well. For example, but just easy objects like pumps or drillings, inclined drillings, or it's all parametric in our library. But the other part you were asking is the AI part, where we're using AI. And actually, we are not yet using it for the modeling part, but Deutsche Bahn has seen this new technology. And this autumn, or in the next 2 weeks, BahnGPT goes online. So it's like ChatGPT just for Bahn knowledge, or the railway knowledge, which helps us on daily base. And on the other thing is we try to implement AI use case for all document management system, because I told you we have a lot of requirements, we have a lot of guidelines, so we are producing a lot of papers, and just to automate this organization of these documents, we want to use AI.
Yeah, definitely, very, very suitable use case. Makes a lot of sense. So from design, we have the design compliant to regulations, fulfilling for the number of passengers. Then we take it to construction site, and things start to happen. You already mentioned capturing reality with some point clouds and so on for the necessity maybe of size of things. But during the process of construction, then you definitely apply different quality controls and checking of comparisons between design and how is that being realized on the construction side. So if you can give us some insights about that, it'd be very interesting.
So first of all, we have our contract and therefore is nearly nothing digital. It's just the people go out and making on their lists, their signings, when I'm honest.
Like
so
inspection.
In German it's called Bauüberwacher, controlling the construction.
Yeah.
And only when he signs everything, the construction company is allowed to give us an invoice. And so it's quite a formal process, and this process can be digitized in the future. So we have different approaches, because on this guy who is doing the signings, he can use digital tools in the future and should do. On the other hand, we can have a target comparison live with our construction company on a daily base or on a weekly base. What's happening next. So this process, how it works right now in Germany, will look different in the future. And so on. We decided to try different approaches. So first of all, we give our construction companies and all the people on the construction side, they have an account on our common data environment. So they have all the models so everybody should have the same stand of information, the same base. When we start construction, it's quite necessary that you just have a small amount what you're constructing, and you have it really prepared for everybody. Because on the construction side, the point of view is the construction and not the using technology. So it has to be, keep it simple and stupid.
Very minimal, very focused.
Really, really minimal. Everything should be handed and just prepared that everything should work. Therefore, we are doing our reinforcement planning, and on the construction side, the outlaying of the reinforcements on a model. They have models, plans on the construction side. They have a BIM box where a big touch screen is inside. And that helps furthermore the teams for the reinforcement just to understand how complex the reinforcement is and how the layering should be. It's just, it's aid for them. Just use a tool to help them. On the other hand,
So for software, sorry to interrupt you, for software providers, then it's really important to keep this in mind in construction side. Keep it simple, keep it focused, and just give the people what they need to finish the task for the specific task.
And that's one point, Jimmy. I'm a bit disappointed as a young guy. We have really good software in modeling, and on the construction side, how they work, that is not really working. So this connection. So that is what can be better in the future. Definitely that step, bringing the models and the construction together.
Yeah, I mean, because of the evolution of also the adoption of BIM and how can you digitize the process in the AEC sector. So, I mean, you're now using BIM models and designing everything in detail in there. But this was not adopted by all companies previously. So we were still printing papers and taking 2D drawings with us. So I think it's coming, it's going to that direction. But I agree with you, there's a huge gap there. And this is the wave. Like now design is becoming more digitized. People accepted the fact of BIM, trying to make use of it. Then it should continue to construction and operation hopefully afterwards.
So we are outside on the construction, and we're doing the reinforcement layings there with the model. So when this is ready, so also we can do a checkup with our tablet and in our common data environment. And the future will be now that we are doing point clouds on that constructed object and put it directly back into our construction software and generate an as-built part for this area. And the future will be due to the fact that we are planning integral. So the mechanics are inside, or the EMP planning is not yet ready, and the concrete is already constructed. So these different phases will be put together. So actually in the whole construction process in Germany, that's not really the line or the way it's done in all the guidebooks and in the rule books. And with BIM, we have now the possibility to increase the quality of the planning after one part is already constructed, and in a really quick way and in a fast way.
So you keep updating the federation of those different disciplines?
Yes.
Where you will have even better performance on construction because you have everything up to date,
Yes.
up to date. That's very interesting. Definitely. I mean, because you have the current state, even during construction, you keep using the source of truth of information, which is this federated model of different disciplines, and then you use it as a basis for your decisions during the construction phase.
To put this in a functional workflow, that's a major task.
Yeah, it is definitely. And I think you're already doing a great job with that, because this is the maximum we see also in the industry. People trying to use the federation of models up to the start of construction. We do some clash detection. We tell you everything is fine. Afterwards, the usage of those models drops slowly. And then we do some quality checking as planned versus as built. But that's it. Then even people in operations don't continue using those models, which are really a lot of investment and a lot of work went into them.
But that's a good point. And I want to continue your sentence, Jimmy, because it's a lot of work, but it's worth. For example, right now we're tendering the east part of the tunnel and the existing train station there. And we have a major focus on 4D planning while we are constructing. So updating all the 4D model so that we have the time factor. The next thing is we are updating the 5D, so our cost controlling software with the model. And that should follow the whole timeline, but separated, not all collected in one. So that's maybe where your software in the future can help us.
Yeah.
But the next thing is we want to have these parts, the fourth and the fifth dimension, as a tool for decisions in comparison of the geometry.
During the construction phase.
During the construction phase as well.
Yeah, definitely. Makes a lot of sense. And if we now imagine you have delivered the project, what happens with the data you generated during the life cycle so far? I know it's a tough topic.
It's a tough topic because we are finishing in the 30s. So it's 6 years from now, the earliest part. But on the other hand, we see already where it's going. So for example, when we are calculating or planning a station right now, so let's, for example, take the central station, we are already counting the numbers of elevators, stairs, and stuff like that. And due to that, the maintenance companies or company parts of Deutsche Bahn are calculating the maintenance cost. It's just an Excel form, which is, but the information of this Excel sheet are coming from the models. So for sure, the future will be that some information of the models are going into different calculations, and therefore it's maybe in the future there will be some better ways to share the information or to use these information. But the BIM models are for sure the part which show us where the information is. So we have the geometry part, which is in the end of our construction, hopefully a perfect as-built model. And on the other hand, we have for sure not yet all the knowledge, which information we need in this geometry inside. And therefore, there will be for sure a link to different databases, and we start working.
Yeah. So the main use of the BIM model can be to extract what kind of objects, quantities of them, and then from the previous experiences existing, for example, at the Deutsche Bahn, you already know how you maintain those assets already. So you can have rough estimation. What will be the cost of maintenance? What do I need to account for to already operate properly those kind of assets as well? Do you imagine using those 3D models as well for the operation phase? Like people in operations click on those 3D models and look into the different maintenance information or try to use them for really the day-to-day operations?
For sure, yes.
In the 30s.
in the 30s, I'm not so sure what happens in the 30s, because in my mind, the BIM model is the visual object, as you told before. And all the other information can be added. So, for example, a guy who is running all the escalators in this building or is responsible for that, he will look for sure in the model what escalator is there. And in Germany, we have the TÜV, who is doing the quality control of the escalators. And for example, that could be an information when the next date is, when the TÜV has to come again, or the quality check.
Yeah, definitely.
But on a different scale for sure. But is it really the best solution in the end? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the process is still also in maturity. So we see a lot of adoption in terms of how can we leverage those digital models, those values for the operation phase, or even keep them up to date? Because I can imagine we can do a lot of maintenance or a lot of renovation or extensions. Definitely, I think this is one of the big topics at the Deutsche Bahn, because you need to keep expanding the network and do extensions of the different lines. And you need those interconnected areas with the existing facilities. So having maybe those available for also decision-making would be very important.
Actually, that's in our digitization strategy that we are building up, like Google Earth for the train network in Germany. So it's called Inframaps. And we are trying to implement all these models in the end in one environment.
Mm-hmm. So you would have your own, let's say, your own GIS system that has all of those facilities.
With a 3D component. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can load some point clouds in as well, like a digital twin, maybe in your definition.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I mean, this is what we need to harness this technology to really push our boundaries in operations, make use of and make value out of them. If we look at the process at the moment, you're leveraging different kind of tools, right? And you have the right expertise also in the teams that you have. And I think handing over this to operations also needs some transfer of expertise, of knowledge to the different parts of the Deutsche Bahn. So if we go again to the topic of AI and to how people work, so I think you mentioned that you will have a ChatGPT concept in place and trying to find ways to search through documents and so on. So is there any other kind of, let's say, research projects or other expansions or evaluations you're doing in terms of technology evaluations?
Yes, there are a few. But actually, I'm not the right person to talk to, because there we have a whole AI department at Deutsche Bahn who is responsible for that. And I can give you the contact to me. But on the other hand, for example, they're doing some timetable schedule also with AI already. On the other slide was some tracking and some tracking of the quality of the bridges due to the noises of a train which is going over. So different approaches. Deutsche Bahn is looking always for new technology. I think the biggest challenge in Deutsche Bahn is to put this technology on the run, just to implement it. And as you said before, we have to keep it simple, focus, easy. Also, that's, I would say, the major point when we are talking about new technology, because on the first side, everybody thinks, oh, that's new and that's good. But on the other hand, you have to implement it in the company. And therefore, you need it so easy and simple that everybody can use it. And that's the biggest challenge, I would say.
Yeah, it is its transformation of a process. So people need to understand the technology, be able to use it for their daily function. Which is why I'm bringing AI, because it is changing the way we work. So you mentioned previously, the person on the construction site will not keep doing this in the future. He will change how he's doing this kind of inspection or approval. So most of our daily works or daily business will be changing or transforming with the technology that's coming out to market. Okay,
but to continue that, on the other hand, and that's quite tough, because on the other hand, we have guidelines which fulfill, or we have requirements which we have to fulfill. And on the other side, we have the technology, which is always growing or getting better. So, and that's not working in a way. So
taking you to a different direction.
Really,
So it's like flying while keeping your
document in the hand.
Yeah, keeping everything tight or everything neat. Definitely, that's the reality. But thinking about the people who have the domain knowledge and people like yourself, trying to really challenge the status quo, challenge with all the different solutions, trying to test them, make sure we can use them in the processes. I think we can find this line in between, that we can apply the technology for while maintaining the regulations, which I hope also with time, maybe we will have different way of regulating rules or things that we need to comply with to be also more flexible, but at the same time having like a safe side of maintaining the build process. So taking into account all the projects you have worked on and the different scales, like from GIS to BIM to even BIM models, reality captures, and you tried the different kind of systems. So you were challenging the current processes, trying to use the advancement in software to do better, faster, and even enjoy using the technology to accomplish your work. What kind of advice would you give to our listeners so they can harness the value of those digital models?
It's a good question. First of all, I would say, don't be afraid, just do. Hands-on works always. In that way, in the construction, there is no right or wrong. So first of all, start using BIM as a shortcut. For example, you can get all the plans you need later out of your Revit file. When you have done a proper base, your project will increase. But first, you have to have a solid base layer. And the problem or the thing is, you have to sell your work. And that's, I would say, a major topic, because sometimes we engineers are not that good in selling our work. And the future is digital. So we will see the major innovations, and we have to use them in construction as well. And for the future, there will be a digital twin. And for our project, we would need a digital twin of all our project phases as well, because it's so complicated in different areas. But only when we have the basis right, we can start using AI for the next approach. And that's why it's really important that we all start working on a daily basis with our current state of technology.
Very nice. So you said you will have a digital twin and for all the phases, which always brings me to the very fancy question that I always like to ask. How do you define a digital twin?
Quite hard, yeah. And actually, I don't know the answer, because there are many different definitions on it. But for example, a digital twin we are right now producing is a digital twin which has a BIM model. The plans were extracted out of it. And on the other side, we have all the live sensoric from the geotechnical part, like settlements, air pressure while constructing, put into a platform. And we can control all the different sensors by visualization of this data.
That's very accurate to your first statement that you're not sure what it is, but that's really good. Really.
Yeah, but that's our approach in the construction right now, but I'm for sure it will be changed in the future when we get different parts as well. And I'm not sure if it's done right, and we are not able to get everything in one platform right now. But for sure, we try to put it parallel in different softwares, and at least we get some reporting out of every software just to fulfill our idea.
Yeah, indeed. But putting all of those data sources together will really give you a lot of insights, a lot of value you can extract, which can be another factor for your decision making. Do you want to make an extension? Maybe it's because of a specific maybe improvement or optimization of even pedestrian movement that you can do. So you can change how you make decisions of even constructing new things.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Jimmy, one thing we are not talking about this today is it's not always about the decision of the construction. It's also the thing controlling the construction. Is everything right? Is every sensor green? Just that fact and the documentation on behind it also works as a use case.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is where the digital twin across the life cycle will help until we hand over for operations, and each phase has different use cases or values we can get out of the digital twin itself. But definitely this needs further discussions and further time that we talk about it and discuss it. So do you have any questions in mind that we'd like to go through, Max, or anything?
What is your definition of a digital twin or from the company Nemetschek?
Yeah, so from our perspective, a digital twin is a life cycle solution or life cycle concept that from the design to operations, you can get the value out of it. The main concept always boils down to bringing the knowledge from each phase. And when I say knowledge, it can be the digital models, it can be even information in other systems that's there. And we use this representation of the assets, which can be the design, the BIM data, or even point clouds, panoramas, any kind of representation. You mentioned having 2D drawings at the beginning when we have those for cables and so on. This is also knowledge. And I believe this will be valuable also as part of a digital twin. It doesn't need to be 3D. And then adding information from all the systems involved in the process will feed into this representation and make it more and more valuable. So, for example, during design and construction, the solutions used during those phases can make the representation richer and more valuable for making decisions. But when you go to operations, then it will be different kind of systems or occupancy data, sustainability, like energy consumption and so on. So it always boils down to, within a phase, we have a representation, we have a context, which is real-time information coming from systems, IoT, BMS, which can make the context rich for making decisions. So this is how I see it, which is, I think it's believed to your last definition of having the BIM data and attached to it some IoT.
No. I agree completely what you said. But on the other hand, or the problem we are facing is always that we are having amounts of data and how we handle them. And is it for sure the right way to get everything combined together? Because we have enormous amounts, and who will in the end look at it, and how do we process all this?
I really love this statement, because the value of the systems that will be offering digital twins comes when we can abstract from this data, like do some aggregates or extract from it knowledge. So to be more specific, it's really fusing the knowledge from the different systems on the representation to get the value will be the thing that we are looking for. But as you said, it can be overwhelming if we put everything in one place. Bring data from everywhere, just show some text here and there and so on. I mean, what's the point? It would be good to find everything in one place, but then are we helping for making decisions, or are we making decisions even harder? So it's a very, very good point you're mentioning here, Max.
For example, you talked about before about point clouds, how we used it. So one major point is when we're doing a point cloud in the construction, we have a size limit. And how do you tell a guy who is running out in the field with the laser scanner that he has to process the point cloud into a 5 gigabyte part, because otherwise our common data environment cannot process these. So, and all this stuff and these technical needs to be processed in a complete operation. And that's quite hard right now, when I'm honest.
Yeah, because you need the right expertise, which is, I agree with you, it's one of the things we are lacking even on the construction side. So it's really known now with the EUC sector, we have lack of workers on the construction side that are with the right skills. And when we talk even about point clouds, if you ask now in your team how many of the people joining if they know point clouds from before, probably they don't. So this is where you need to work on training, on bringing the right skills. But maybe going to point clouds, one more question. So you see the workflow that we capture point clouds and then we digitize those point clouds into BIM data. Or do you use the point clouds as they are and try to leverage them? Or do you always create 3D BIM models out of them?
It depends. It depends really. Just a small quality check. And you don't need to model after a point cloud. It makes no sense, just work. But on the other hand, for example, modeling an as-built object, you would definitely model after the point cloud.
Yeah.
So use case
driven. Yeah. Because then, I mean, if you already have the BIM model, which means you have the smart representation of the point cloud. So what's the point to create another one? In some cases in operations, we see this sometimes where if you don't have a BIM model, some people capture this point cloud and try to do tagging or try to do some alignments and some things within the point cloud. So people sometimes try to say, if I need to go to the BIM model level, then I need to get the proper materials. I need to think of the values I'm getting out of it. Or the investment, like how big is the investment to create this BIM model? Maybe for you already have in-house modeling, right? So for some people, it will be different.
Actually, two of my colleagues in my team can model when they need, but most of the time we're using external sources for modeling.
All right, that was very good, very nice. Thanks a lot for the insights, Max. Thanks also for your advices for our listeners. It was really great to have this discussion with you, give this insight about the operations, about the challenges. I would say it's really phenomenal and very special what you're dealing with in terms of scale, size, and also how complex the process can be. But you seem to be used to it, so used to work with this kind of problem. And it seems like digital models are really working well in the domain so far. So you're able to overcome all the challenges and use different solutions there. So if our listeners would like to follow up or contact you later, are you active in social media or how can they reach you out?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Maximilian Weiß. And when you're interested in our project, please go to our website, www.stammstrecke-münchen.de. You can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Zweite Stammstrecke, you will find us. And for the people who are in Munich, we have our information center right next to the station Marienhof, next to the town hall. And it's very close to Hofbräuhaus. So normally when somebody is visiting, he's there. Have a quick look, have a chat. Thursday to Saturday, it's open.
Very good. It's in the very center of Munich. So you can easily reach it. And it's a very beautiful area. So I recommend everyone to go there. I was there once with you, Max, I think.
Actually you were. Yeah.
Okay, that's really great. So it was a pleasure hosting you, Max. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. And I hope all the listeners enjoyed the episode. Thank you for joining, Max.